And now, it's time for another Dice Tower review with Ryan Metzler.
Hey everybody, it's Ryan Metzler here with a racing game today called Duck, Duck, Go, which is kind of in the vein of Robo Rally. You're going to be programming your ducks here, not robots, to move around the sink or the bathtub or whatever it may be in order to touch buoys, collecting tokens so that they can get back to the center of the drain before anybody else and win the game. So real quick, why don't we take a look at this game that uses little cute rubber duckies as play pieces. We'll see how the game plays, and then we'll come back here and get my final opinion on Duck, Duck, Go. Here you can see the components for Duck, Duck, Go, and this is going to be kind of a Robo Derby or Robo Rally type of game where you're moving your ducks around the board, trying to touch each of these buoys before the other players, and then get back to the center. And in order to do this, each player is going to have a hand of cards. They're going to be these numbered cards here. You'll get them, and they're going to have different movement patterns on them. So the black hex here is going to show where you start. It's going to tell you which directions you can move, and then which direction you end up facing. So the black is where you start. The red arrows are where you may move to. And then the facing is going to be which of these three final spots you want to end in. You'll see there's a green arrow above it that shows you which way you're going to have to face. You'll also note that each of these cards has a number in the top left-hand corner. This is going to be the order in which you move. So everybody's going to choose a card face down simultaneously, and then they're going to reveal the card, and they're going to do the movements from the lowest number to the highest number in order. So if you want to act early, it's best to choose a low number. If you don't care when you act, you're going to have to choose a higher number, and you may get a better movement out of it for doing so. So each player will have a hand of 3 cards at the beginning of the game. They're all going to choose a card simultaneously. You can determine the first player by everybody getting an extra card and revealing that card and showing their number, and whoever has the lowest number going first. So everyone will reveal their card, and they're going to be trying to move to get to these different buoys. So maybe this player here chooses this card, this player chooses this card, and this player chooses this card. And they reveal them all at the same time. So we have 24, we have 38, and we have 14. So this player here is going to move first. And they're going to move forward 1. They're going to turn and move this direction and move forward 1, and then they can choose to face either this tile or this tile. And so maybe they'll choose to face this way. And their turn is done, this card would get discarded, and they would draw a new card to their hand. Then we would go to 24, and this player is going to move forward 3 times, facing forward when they're done. So they're going to end right there, discard their card, and draw another card. The last player here has a choice. They can move to their left, they can move forward, or they can move to their right, and then they're going to have to face back the direction they're already facing. So maybe they just go straight forward, they end their turn right there, and they're done. They draw another card. If at any time your duck hits the edge of the board, maybe you move forward several times and you have to move forward again, but you can't. You're going to stop your turn and turn right back around, finishing your turn like that. If you were to run into another duck, the same thing would happen. So maybe somehow this duck moves forward and hits this duck. He's going to turn around and stop right in front of the other duck. The same is true for the center drain. You cannot cross over or enter the center drain. The objective is to cross over these buoys, and when you do so, you're going to get the appropriate buoy token to mark that you've gone over it, and you need to collect all 3 before you go back to the center, and the first person back to the center will win the game. Now there's some other special rules. For example, if you end your turn on a buoy, you get to play another card immediately and continue moving, giving you a little bit of an extra action. In addition to that, if you land on one of these starting life preservers, you can immediately teleport to any other starting life preserver and choose your facing. So that's the basic game. You're trying to move around using these different cards, and you'll see there's all types of different movement patterns, some of them elaborate, some of them short. But using a combination of these cards and some clever bumping into other things and traveling between life preservers, you're trying to gather all 3 of these buoys and head back to the center before the game, before anybody else. Now you'll note there are different tiles you can use. They're 2-sided, and they have starting points on some of them, or just open water. You can flip these ones over, and the position of the buoys will move. And then on top of that, there are some advanced variants using some action cards and what's called the bird dog. So you have some action tokens here that when you cross over one of these buoys, you're going to get a special action token, and they do different things. So you can use this one to change your facing on the board. You can use this one to increase your movement, or you can use this one to swap your position with the bird dog on the board. So there's all types of different special actions you can get by crossing over buoys that are going to kind of make you jump forward even a little bit more before your opponents can get the other stuff. In addition to those tokens, you're also going to have something called the bird dog, which is going to go to the player who's the furthest behind in the number of buoys collected. And this bird dog is going to move after all of the other ducks have moved, but what's going to happen here is if he's not already on the board, you're going to get to place him on the board in a direction you want him facing. And at this point, the player can either move him by playing a card from their hand, or by choosing the top 2 cards of the deck and playing both of them in whichever order they choose. When this bird dog runs into another duck, he's going to move them to a starting buoy, so you get to choose which starting buoy. And likewise, if you run into the bird dog on your turn, the player controlling the starting, or the bird dog, is going to move you to one of the starting buoys of his choosing. The game is going to play otherwise much in the same way. You'll have the action tokens and the bird dog, but the goal is still to get to each of the buoys before your opponent and get back to the center drain in order to win the game. Well, there you have Duck, Duck, Go, a pretty simple little game, one that I like for the pieces a lot. I actually like little rubber duckies, so I enjoy the game for that aspect. I think it's very well produced, and it's very interesting to see the different ducks you can get for the game. You can get little, ghost ducks, or you saw the nerd duck there, and they have tons of different ducks you can get. The gameplay is a little bit chaotic. You have a choice of 3 cards, and through some pretty good planning, you can negate some of that chaos, but you are limited by the cards that you draw, so there is that aspect. Overall, I think it's a pretty good game for lighter gamers, and for kids, definitely. It's not something that's going to stay in my collection, not because it's not a good game, but it's because it's something that won't hit my table very often. But I think it does have a place in a lot of players' collections, and I think it's done very well so far in terms of sales. So overall, if you're looking for a nice, easy little game to play with a little bit of chaos but some strategy that can go into it, check out Duck, Duck, Go from Ape Games.
Thanks for watching our review today. For more information about board games, as well as the #1 board game audio podcast, check out Dicetower.com for reviews, interviews, and more. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower.